Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 297, recorded Wednesday, April 22nd, 2015. There's a knob for that. This Week in Google is brought to you by Harry's. For guys who want a great shave experience for a fraction of what you're paying now, go to harrys.com. Get $5 off your first purchase by entering the code TWIG when you check out. And by Little Bits, the easy way to build electronics with modular building blocks. Go to littlebits.com/twig and you'll receive $20 off your first kit, plus free shipping in the U.S. And by Shutterstock. With over 52 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code TWIG415. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we cover Google, the cloud, the Twitterverse, the Facebookverse, and all of the above. Mike Elgan is with us in-house. Great to have you.
Glad to be here. Love this show.
Our news director. Well, we love having you on, and you are a Google Plus head.
I'm a Google freak generally.
Me too, but I try to hide that.
You know why I like Google? Because I have to write a lot about news, and Google makes news every single day.
Yeah.
Apple makes news twice a year.
Right.
But Google is such a newsworthy company. They do all these crazy projects. They're always... You know, they have their hands in every cookie jar. It's just a great company to cover because they just do so much.
Hey, this is a red letter day. For the first time in a long time, somebody's handed me a brush saying, could you brush your hair? Whoa. Jeff Jarvis is here from London. Londinium. I should throw him the brush across the pond. It's late at night.
Oh, is it?
No, I like it. It's, you know, both of us look like crazy professors.
I'm the only person on the show who combed his hair. Well, until just now.
You are a crazy professor, though. That's the difference, Jeff. What are you doing in London?
Absent-minded, too. I was in Perugia, Italy last week for the International Journalism Festival, and then I came on to work at The Guardian for 4 days.
I am so jealous. I've been watching Matthew Ingram's posts from Perugia. Last year, Malik and Matthew. Is this your first time at that conference?
It is, and Matthew knows how to live it up. Poor Matthew, I don't think it's any secret. He got his backpack stolen from under his train seat. He was sitting in it, but the hotel took pity on him, apparently, and he got the royal suite.
Nice.
What?
At the hotel.
No, I want my backpack stolen. Well, good for him.
And Matthew ate very well and enjoyed his time in Perugia with his wonderful wife, Wendy.
And is he happy because he was picked up like 5 or 6 other former Giga-omers. He was hired by who?
Fortune.
Fortune. That ain't bad.
Yeah, he was one of the 6.
No, it's great.
Giga-omer alumni.
Good for him. And did you ask him about it? Is he happy about that?
Yeah, he's happy. Yeah, he starts pretty soon.
Well, I'm glad that he got to go to Perugia, and I'm glad you got to go to Perugia, one of the most beautiful medieval cities in Italy. It's just stunning.
Indeed.
And is where many American students go to learn Italian before they do their exchange program.
Yeah.
My sister went there to get ready for that.
Are they going to Italy to learn Italian, or are they learning Italian to go to Italy? These kids, you got to wonder.
Oh, chicken and egg. I don't know which came first. Also with us, we're really glad to have Danny Sullivan from Search Engine Land, one of the most astute observers of Google and search in general. And I got a lot of questions for you. This is a Danny Sullivan jammed week.
Got no answers. Try.
I got to start with a breaking story, though. Google finally announced its wireless carrier business. I'm going way back to the 700 megahertz auctions that the FCC did. We've for so long we've been saying if Google would just get into the cell carrier business, they could just destroy it, reconstitute it. That's not exactly what they're doing this time. It's called Google Fi. And
Faux fum.
Faux fum. And it is, Fi does not stand for Finland. It is what we expected from Google, which is a new Project Fi, a new wireless carrier based on, frankly, Sprint and T-Mobile. So they're really an MVNO. It's just a fancy MVNO.
Fi stands for finally Google is an MVNO.
Yeah. But it is going to be different. For one thing, a flat rate, $20 a month. That gives you talk, text. By the way, unlimited international as well as U.S. text.
It turns out, though, that despite rumors, international will cost extra.
Well, so let me explain what's going on here. So for $20 a month, you get unlimited domestic talk and text, unlimited international texts, low-cost international calls. This is through T-Mobile. This is what T-Mobile probably is doing. Wi-Fi tethering is included in the $20, and it's 120-plus countries. But then there's the data component, and that starts, you pick a package, 10, 20, 30 gigabytes a month. You pay $10 per gigabyte, flat rate. If you use more, you pay more. If you use less, they refund it.
Yeah.
So it's a little like Ting in that regard. This would easily be the least expensive mobile system. Here's the catch. You got to have a Nexus 6 phone. It's the only phone that works with it.
But here's why I love this.
Of course, we all have Nexus 6 phones, right?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
Jason does. Jason Howell does. That's your daily driver.
Yep, it is, and I've requested an invite. I'm waiting.
Me too,
patiently.
as have I.
Phones
Jeff
go
Jarvis?
missing, though, Jason, so if yours goes missing, it's probably an accident.
Just don't leave it under the seat on a French train or Italian train. Jeff, you still carry the Nexus 6 as your daily driver, don't you? Yep.
There it is.
Denny, what do you use for a phone?
I actually use the iPhone 6 mostly if I had to go out with one phone. Usually I go out with two, and I would have the Nexus 6, but then the Galaxy S6 just came in, so I flip-flopped them for the time being.
Yeah, I actually really love the S6.
Yeah. And although my key feature is that I can put a wallet case on both the S6 and you can't do that with the Nexus 6. And so it's like if I want to have a single phone that I want to go out and I want to have all my credit cards and everything in it, then I need the wallet case. So next time, make it a flat back. But it's a nice phone.
It's just big. 6-inch phone, and it's not cheap. It's not a traditionally inexpensive Nexus phone. Starts at $650 for the 32 gigabyte, and then I think it's $700 for the 64 gigabyte. But I would guess that there's some sort of, well, it's for one thing, it out of the box does work on both Sprint and T-Mobile, so that's one thing going for it. LTE.
So what is the international cost?
That's a good question. I don't know what the international cost is.
Yeah, I haven't seen those numbers. But to me, the thing that is the big news here is the fact that you have two carriers and Wi-Fi, and calls go seamlessly between them. So if you're indoors and you have your home Wi-Fi and you're talking on the phone, and then you leave to go to work, it will switch over to one of the mobile carriers without dropping the call. Now, imagine this extended beyond the Nexus 6 and beyond the two carriers. Imagine if you could have two or three or four carriers. Imagine if you could have all the carriers.
You just always have the best possible
You would
coverage.
have amazing coverage. It would be, and then the other innovation here is the clarity of the plan, because what carriers do is they play a shell game. They hide fees.
Right.
Sure, we'll subsidize your phone, and then you end up paying $1,200 for your iPhone because they just fold it into the wireless charges, and who knows what you're paying for. In this case, you get what you pay for. You pay what you get. You pay for what you get, and it's very clear. And I think that's the threatening thing to the carrier model.
Alan Tepper in the chat room says that if you want to buy the Nexus 6 from Fi as part of the Fi experience, you can amortize the cost over 24 months.
Yeah.
So that's not so bad.
No.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff. I stepped on you.
No. I'm lagging here. I also just ordered a Karma and met with the founder of Karma. And that is also a pay for the data that you use on a MiFi or not. And I think I'm delighted that there are now two pressures to get rid of this wasted data plan thing.
It's also month to month. There's no annual contract.
Yeah.
So really, I think this is probably what Google's interested in, is kind of a shot across the bow on mobile carriers who've really made this a horrific experience.
Yes, they have. And so, yeah, I just think look what they've done with fiber. I mean, fiber involves digging trenches and things like that, getting massive regulatory approval. With something like an MVNO, they should be able to grow this and expand it and sort of get better deals for international coverage and all that kind of stuff much more quickly than they've been able to grow. And, of course, the fiber project started out as a project. Nobody really believed it. People thought it was some future thing, and then all of a sudden it was upon us. All of a sudden they were digging trenches. Suddenly, cities are actually going online with this thing. So I think that this, they're coy about it, and they say, oh, this is just an experiment. We're just trying it out. It's very limited. But I think, within a year or two, this is going to be a pretty significant option for people.
You'll also have to get a new SIM card, the particular Project Fi SIM card, which, if you think about it, a SIM card is traditionally tied to one carrier. Yeah. This SIM card will allow you to go back and forth between Sprint and T-Mobile. We've seen Wi-Fi calling. In fact, T-Mobile on the S6 and other phones has Wi-Fi calling, which I think works pretty well. What's your experience with it been, Danny? Have you played with it?
No, I haven't. I usually, it's one way or the other. So, the most that I've been dealing with, say, Wi-Fi stuff has been if I have been sending text from my desktop because I use Google Voice.
Right.
So, I'd go and I would connect that way, which is beautiful because, I can be in another country and I'm still getting the same sort of stuff. And times I've made calls that way, so I haven't used it. What I am curious is, typically you turn to Wi-Fi because you don't want to use up your data, right? So I want to watch a bunch of movies and everything. So you hook up to Wi-Fi and you don't even think about whatever the data is if it's open and you're free to use it. So I'm wondering when they say, it's 1 gigabyte, is that 1 gigabyte if I'm on an open Wi-Fi thing, or is it 1 gigabyte regardless of how the data I'm using? Because you could actually start racking up more data usage that costs you money with this plan if they count your Wi-Fi usage. And I can't find anything in the back on that.
Oh, so that's really interesting.
That can't be.
No, they can't charge you for your own data.
Well, I don't think it can be, but, well, I don't think it can be, but it'd be nice if they clarified that.
Yeah, I mean,
I keep going through the fact trying to figure it out with, so.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the fact, but I am looking at and I guess they don't spell it out specifically, but they do say this technology connecting to the Wi-Fi hotspots helps keep your speed high and your data bill low. So if connecting to that Wi-Fi would increase your bill, actually, then they might not make that.
My assumption is probably not counted into it.
Yeah, I would guess so.
I would immediately drop it if it did.
Yeah, that would be a big bummer.
Here's in the FAQ, it says, does it cost extra to use my phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot? Project Fi does not charge any extra monthly fees to use your phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot. It's included. You can use your phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot to share your data with any Wi-Fi compatible device. The data you share will count toward your monthly usage data, but that's because when you're doing that as a Wi-Fi hotspot, you can only use LTE. So that makes sense.
I will say that I use prepaid for both Verizon in the U.S. and T-Mobile in the U.S., and I think a lot of people overlook that the prepaid plans actually can be very good. On Verizon, I think I'm paying $45 a month, and that's giving me, I think, 1.5 gigabytes of data, and then you buy additional data and 3 gigabyte things for $20 that last 90 days. But it's actually a really, really good deal, especially when you compare it to their regular paid plans. On T-Mobile, I have a plan that's costing me $45 a month, and that includes 5 gigabytes of data and unlimited call and text. But you only know how to get that plan if you go past all the stuff they put up at the top, and you go at the bottom and go, I'll take one of those things down here.
This is the best, in my opinion, T-Mobile plan. It's a prepaid also. $30 a month. Unlimited web.
That's the one I have.
Yes,
unlimited
that's
text.
The secret plan.
100 minutes talk. And since most people don't talk anymore.
Until you want to activate your hotspot, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to tack on another $15. But it's still a pretty good plan.
You get your first 5 gigs.
But you're right. That is the secret plan. And that's the thing that gets me when John, I can never say his last name right, Legere. But whenever he goes off about how, hey, look at, we're so great, we're the uncarrier, we're breaking all the stuff, and it's like, you never mention that awesome plan that you have down there.
Yeah.
And only if people know the secret plan exists, I wish you would just, embrace it.
Yeah. You have to go to the prepaid plans on T-Mobile.com, and you'll see it down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But you're right. Those are, and that's comparable to what we're talking about with Google. In no cases do these plans talk about federal and state taxes, which can be insignificant, maybe as much as $8 a month. So just consider that.
But the international thing, man, I mean, I just came back from Iceland, right? And so when I ended up there, in the airport, bought the local SIM card, put it into my phone, and then I'm pretty good, right? It's not like I'm trying to get phone calls, and I still have Google Voice on the phone, so I can see if I'm getting any calls coming into me that way. But it's still, I got to get the local card or whatever, and I don't want to turn on the phone until I have it or whatever. And this will be awesome. Because this means, you get your SIM from Google, you go abroad. Yes, it's going to be limited to 3G speeds abroad.
Is it? They don't mention that. That's the T-Mobile deal.
You got to read in the fact. You got to read in the fact.
It says it in the fact. Okay.
Yeah. Data speeds are limited to 3G. Oh, and then they call 3G, ready for this? 256 kps, which to me is not 3G.
No, it's really Edge. It's really 2G.
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's Edge. So, all right. But still, get you by, I guess.
I'm going to be going to Europe in June. I hope I can get my my SIM and my invite before then, because I would love to take that Nexus 6 with me and give you a real-world experience. Jeff's traveling all the time. I'm sure you would be a good person for them to give this to. We get it's interesting, and I don't know if this is true all over the country. Sprint is terrible in Petaluma. T-Mobile is amazing in Petaluma. Yep. But that might be exactly what this does for you. Is
right.
Sprint's great in Vegas. T-Mobile's terrible.
Right.
Go to Vegas. You've got a choice. And my experience with Wi-Fi handoff is actually pretty good. Republic Wireless does this. And I had a Moto X on Republic Wireless. It was pretty amazing. I was making a call on the Wi-Fi at home and intentionally got in the car and drove off as I'm talking. I think I did this in my Before You Buy review. I was leaving myself a voicemail message. It was seamless. Yeah. At no point did you suddenly say, "Oh, now he's on the cell service." Yeah. It was just seamless. So this is totally doable. Phones can do this very well now, I think. So that's exciting. We've been waiting for this. Why is Google doing this, Jeff Jarvis?
Just trying to put the big guys in a vice.
Are they Are they the shaming company? Is that their job? Let's shame the other guys.
Yeah, we're going to shame you into mobile now. We're going to shame you into
what's the business? What's the business purpose for this?
It's always very simple. Google's business model couldn't be simpler. The more people use the internet, the more money Google makes. Full stop. Right, Danny?
Yeah, no, I agree with you entirely. This is like make it easier for people to get online, stay online, always be online, so that we can always be there for them, figuring out ways to make money from them while they're online.
Is this a at-cost service, or is Google subsidizing this with revenues from search? I bet it's at cost.
I think this may be because this is comparable pricing to Karma, and Karma is just going to pay one big data bill a month. Sprint. Right. Is the way they described it to me, but it's pretty comparable. I forget what the Karma prices are, but it's comparable. I'll bet it's not a loser.
I bet it is very close to break even, and this is the kind of thing Google does. They launch something, they see if it catches on, and then they wait for the monetization. I mean, it didn't even occur to Google to, for example, put advertising in Gmail till much later, and they've had it for a while, and a lot of people were using it, and they thought, we could do this. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is another sort of experiment to see if it goes anywhere. But regarding their business model, they probably have a secret bunker somewhere where they have a committee of geniuses sitting around going, what is it that causes people to hesitate to use the internet more? And they probably have a long list of reasons. Well, one of them is people are confused about their data plans. They really don't know how much it costs, and so they sort of hold back. And then what happens is the average person wastes $23 a month on data they didn't use. And so they see this situation where people are holding back on using the internet, but then and then they're holding back too much, and they're not even using the plans that they have, and this is because of confusion. So I think by creating all this clarity and by creating a situation where you're never out of range of a good signal, they can just get people. They're just making it friction free in terms of using data on a mobile device. And I think that's sort of it's got to be the grand scheme, just to get people to use more data.
So is there a phone number on here? Where's that? Because there's a phone number somewhere on this website.
Under Experience, if you go to the Experience tab and then scroll down at the bottom, you see there's a number there.
Yeah.
Keep going right there.
There's what is that? Is that so? Let's call that. It's a 404. That's Atlanta, I think. All right. 404-978. You getting this, Jason? they paying Lionel Richie for this?
He's answering every call.
He and his band are answering every call.
That is hysterical. So Google's actually giving out this number, and when you call it, you get Lionel Richie. 404-978-9316. Does a pitch come on at some point, or is it just Lionel singing the whole time?
It just stops suddenly.
There's such a puckish sense of humor there over at the Google Play.
Yeah.
You know, Dave Chappelle has a hilarious routine on something like this. He explains the reason why they always have 555 something 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 on movies.
Yeah.
Is because someone will call.
Any phone.
You put a phone number somewhere and
867-5309, and every area code is unusable.
And Google's solution wasn't to use a fake number. It was to use a number that actually Lionel Richie answers.
It's probably a Google Voice number. Wouldn't be that hard to set up with Google Voice. Wow. No other tighter integration, though, into Google. Wouldn't that be interesting? I guess because it's a Nexus 6, it's already pretty tightly integrated. But you'd think that like they'd do a tie into Google Voice or something.
There actually is some degree of integration. The calls, texts, and voicemails can all be sent to Google Hangouts, no matter what device you're using. So there is some attempt at integration with Hangouts.
By the way, Wumper Mill says, see, you do get a human when you call a Google number.
Yeah.
It's not always a Python script.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'll get it and I'll use it, but I'm not sure when I'll give up my AT&T because I'm grandfathered in unlimited data.
Yeah.
At some point, AT&T is going to shake you out of that tree. They do not like you. They just can't figure out a way to get you down.
I'm in that tree with Jeff hanging on for dear life. They better shake pretty hard. I love that unlimited.
I gave it up about a year and a half ago, and I haven't missed it now because actually it turned out to be cheaper just to go to one of their share everything with your family plans.
I think you
really
use it less than you
surprised.
think, don't you?
Well, when I went to the plan, then it was like, okay, you've got 15 gig. You do use it less. And then they did the 15 gigabyte, and then they said, okay, and by the way, we're doing this special promotion, so now we're doubling everybody's data, which got me into that. And then they keep rolling over the data, so it's like, I was in the car the other day, and I told the kids, yeah, go nuts. Stream YouTube while we drive up there. I don't care.
Use it all. Lisa's son is on a shared data plan with Lisa, my wife. And Lisa gets, I think, 9 or 10 gigabytes a month. But Michael has no compunction about getting on the YouTube and running a playlist, and it just runs all day. He will blow through all 10 gigabytes literally in a week or two. Yeah. And it drives Lisa crazy because she's got no more data. So it is not impossible to blow through 10 gigabytes on a mobile device. I can't wait. We all hope we get an invite. I don't know what Google's criteria are. I imagine they do ask for your zip code, that some of it will be coverage. Yeah. Obviously, it'll have to be people with a Nexus 6, although they don't vet that, but I presume that.
And by the way, of course, I couldn't use my Google Apps account.
Really?
Nope, it has to be a Gmail account.
Google Apps
I didn't even
strikes
try.
again.
I was already logged in.
Oh, that sucks so much.
Oh, man.
Lionel Richie is the secret ambassador for Project Five. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm glad Danny Sullivan is here because yesterday was mobilegeddon.
Mobilegeddon.
And I want to know what the upshot, what the body count, what the butcher's
cell phones were raining down from the sky.
Yeah, is. But first, a word. Let's talk about shaving, shall we? Since I didn't shave this morning.
Well, there you have a shaving kit right there.
I looked up this morning. I should shave. I looked up this morning, and it was late, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And I ran out the door. You know what? I was writing code. That's when you're coding,
you're starting to look like a developer.
This is why developers look this way. You just forget, about grooming and time and all of this. Fortunately, when I go home, I've got a fabulous Harry's shave awaiting for me. We're big fans of Harry's, HARRYS.com. They, when they started it just a couple of years ago, they said, we want to make shaving a better experience. It's something we all have to do, something few of us love. And having a dull or bad blade is just going to exacerbate it. So Harry said, let's make sure we can make the best possible blades at a very fair price, about half the drugstore blade, about $2 a blade. And the way they do it, they bought the factory. There are 2 factories in the world, both in Germany, that make great blades. So they bought the factory, and they designed the blades to their specs for sharpness, high performance for comfort. There's knobs you could turn on that factory line to say, oh, yeah, we're going to make the disposable blades now. Turn it down. But they've turned them all the way up to 11 on sharpness and performance, and you get a great shave. And better yet, Harry's delivers these blades to your door for free. Well, not the blades, but the shipping's free. And because they're more efficient, they make themselves the prices right. Take a look at a Harry's kit. In fact, if you go to harrys.com right now, they've got two big kits. This is the Winston. The Winston kit is about, $35? And then there's a Truman, $25 for the Winston. It's less than I thought. And then there's a Truman, which is $15. In both cases, you're going to get a handle. The Harry's Winston set is a metal handle. The Truman set has a plastic handle. You're going to get 3 blades. This is all for $15. You're going to get a bottle of the incredible Harry's foaming shave gel, which not only smells great, it works great. Although they also have cream. If you prefer cream, I use the cream. Oh, look, he's got his Harry's. Is that a Harry's?
That's a Harry's.
That's the
you
Truman.
Know what? I'm nuts, but I because all I do is shave my neck. I don't even use anything with it. It's that good.
Why would you? You don't need to. It's a beautiful, sharp blade. Very little pull. Yep. Very little tug. I'm gonna do the same thing. Who needs razor cream or shave cream? HARRYS.com. And by the way, $15 I said for the Truman. Make it 10. We're gonna take $5 off your first purchase if you use the offer code TWIG. So this is a great gift for the guy. Father's Day's coming up. Maybe Dad would like a set of Harry's.
And for the developer in your life.
And for the developer who forgets to shave because he's in the middle of a coding binge, just hand it to him. Put it on his desk with a bottle of mouthwash, tube of toothpaste. You got it. Harry's, HARRYS.com, and get $5 off. But you got to use the offer code TWIG at checkout. We love Harry's. Thank you, Harry's, for making shaving something I do every morning a much nicer ritual. It's funny. I used to shave in the shower. Once we got Harry's, I started shaving the sink, both to save water because we're in a drought here, but also because I like kind of the ritual of it.
Yeah.
And the steaming water and everything and looking in the mirror. And so it just kind of became a more aesthetic experience for me. I care more about it.
Yeah. The water situation's so bad, I switched to wine for all water. I bathe in it.
That's a good idea.
It's more plentiful in this area.
It is there's more wine than water here in the Sonoma County. So, hey, Danny,
when I was in Prague, there were beer spas where you could bathe in beer.
The Prague, the Czech Republic, they make great pilsners.
Sounding like that show Last Man on Earth when he had his margarita pool or whatever.
So, Danny, what is mobilegeddon? What happened?
Mobilegeddon. Well, so yesterday was Mobilegeddon. And what happened was back in February, Google said, hey, everybody, we think mobile is very important. And in fact, when we are driving people from our search results to pages, if those pages don't render well on their mobile devices, we think that that's an issue. And so we're going to use one of the big levers we have here at Google to help change the web out there by saying that when someone does a search in mobile on Google, we are going to give preference to sites that we deem to be mobile friendly. And if your site isn't mobile friendly, then you might not rank as well as you're going to be doing in the past. And so the idea is that Google wanted people to correct sites where, you can read them, but you may have to do the double tap, or you may have to switch the phone sideways and kind of stretch it out a bit, or you're kind of hard to click on links, or sometimes you go to the page and like the flash doesn't load and everything. All those things are things that Google thinks are not considered mobile friendly. So they made this announcement in February that on April 21st, we are going to roll out what we call our mobile friendly update, and that will start to reward pages that are mobile friendly from that point onward. And that mobile friendly test page that you have up there is a way anybody can check individual pages on their website to find out if they're mobile friendly. If it comes up and it says yes, you're good for that page. If it says no, you got problems, and it gives you some advice on how to fix it.
Is this unprecedented, that Google would announce so far ahead of time that they're changing their algorithm and being very specific about what changes are being made?
Yeah, and in fact, I'll get to that. Let me say also, in addition to that test that you're showing there, if you log into Google Webmaster Tools, it gives you an analysis for your entire site rather than page by page.
Okay.
So you're absolutely right. This was unprecedented.
Hey, our page is mobile friendly.
Excellent.
Yay.
Excellent. Yay. Woo. Woo!
That's why we're redesigning it at great expense. Oh, crap.
Some people might recall that Google had these updates like Panda or Penguin, and you might even recall that people were hit by these things and they lost a lot of traffic, like a demand media or whatever.
Right.
Those were updates or changes to Google's algorithm that were designed to go after spam or low quality content. This isn't going after necessarily low content quality. This is akin to things like Google has said, where they are going to reward sites that are speedy, or they're going to reward sites that are secure. But it's of a nature and of a scale to the degree that Google says it will be like the anti-spam fighting algorithms, where it has an impact on many, many more pages in the mobile results. And it is absolutely unprecedented that they have announced so far in advance that on this particular day, we're flipping the switch, which is why mobilegeddon came about, because we've never had that. We've never had like, oh my God, get prepared. It's going to be this day. And so I don't know who coined mobilegeddon. We certainly have been using it at Search Engine Land. A lot of other people have been using it as well. And that's what happened yesterday. They flipped the switch, and if anything happened, nobody knows yet, because there's been no big reports of people saying, oh, my site dropped out of the results, or this hasn't been a huge thing. So we think that actually they may have been a bit slow in flipping it. We also know it's going to take about a week until that it fully rolls out. But we're watching to see if we get a sense of any brands or any changes that happen where people weren't prepared and they actually lose noticeable ranking and stuff like that.
Anybody who's done a redesign in the last few years would probably pass this test. I'm actually stunned because Twit.tv did pass the test. So did live.twit.tv. We do have... It's not too demanding. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. And the good news is, by the way, it is a page by page type of thing. So if part of your site isn't mobile friendly, the rest of the site might be okay. Right. And also, it's ongoing. So there's no, well, mobilegeddon happened, now I got to wait until mobilegeddon 2. They're constantly crawling the web. Yeah.
It'd be a great movie.
It would be, wouldn't it? You see it on Sci-Fi Channel or something like that. But so there's no waiting for that. It's ongoing. So if you make the changes today and Google comes back tomorrow to your website and sees that they're there, then you should see some of your rankings get restored if they really were impacted.
It may be a bigger problem than some people think, because the research firm Portent said that they tested the 25,000 top sites, what they consider the top sites, and 10,000 of them failed the test.
Well, almost half.
Yeah, and including the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, I expect a lot of government sites to fail, actually, Yep. But commercial sites are always being updated and redesigned, and mobile. This mobile friendly doesn't mean mobile responsive, right, Danny? It doesn't have. It's not, you don't have to go that far. It doesn't
have to be. It has to render in a way that people wouldn't feel uncomfortable reading on a mobile device. But Google is recommending responsive. You know, they've definitely taken that side. They understand that it's not always going to be the right case in some situations, and it isn't in some situations. But they really are on the side of responsive, and they recommend that people go that way.
We, so there's mobile friendly and there's mobile friendly, in other words. In the old days, the way you would do it, and I think my site Leoville still does that, I have a template for mobile, and supposedly when you come in on a mobile device, it will give you a very different looking site. That's the old way of doing it, and now kind of not preferred. The new way of doing it is having the site designed in such a way, Squarespace does this, that when you, on any size screen, it adapts sensibly so that it gives you good results on any size screen.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's our new site will be mobile responsive. I don't think our existing site is mobile responsive. So, but I'm glad to see that that's not a requirement at this point. Did you imply that it might get tougher?
It could, but I mean, it's already kind of tough to begin with.
Right.
You know, it's not hard to look at some of these sites that, like my editor-in-chief, Matt McGee, runs a site about U2. It's a long-running fan site. He's had it for 20 years. And he actually did a case study that he wrote on Search Engine Land saying, hey, my site's probably going to get hit because this is a hobby that we do. It's very proprietary with a lot of our databases, and we literally don't have time to go through and resources right now to try to make it mobile-friendly. So potentially he's going to get hit, even though if you go to the site, you can read it. It's not like you can't do it. You just have to do a bit more work. And so it is, I think, quite a step to say, well, mobile friendly doesn't mean I can use it on the mobile device, but that I can use it without extra steps. That's sort of a big check already, I think. It
was kind of funny when we did this story on Tech News Today, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv. We had a chat room full of people saying, who does Google think they are?
Yeah.
And you know, so this is the philosophical segment of this part of the show, where this is exactly what Google should be doing. I
Is
mean,
it?
It absolutely is. The reason
The biggest
the product,
search engine on the block.
well, but
Well,
Yo,
yeah, but that means that should they start being a bully as well? And
But-
Google does this in a lot of
but
respects.
those
They've been
decisions-
doing this with HTTPS. They've been doing this with SHA-1. They've been doing this in a lot of respects.
they
that's
have
the
they have
product.
to use, and they push that when they want to make changes.
That's what Google search is. That's the secret sauce. They
the
optimize
best
the
sites.
user experience. So if they're not penalizing sites that are horrible on mobile when you use a mobile device, then it's a kind of a dereliction of duty, and the user experience is lower. When I want to go to the top resource on a mobile device, I want them to give me a good experience when I get there, and that's I think
Here's
Google's
a
job.
question. Do they deprecate you if you're searching on the web
No,
or only on mobile?
only on mobile.
Okay.
And so, okay, that's interesting. So you can't really search on the web and expect to see your result. You have to do it from a mobile device.
You have to do it on a mobile device, or there's simulators you can use. It's better if you use a mobile device.
Right.
And by the way, it's not the only thing that happens. So if someone were to search for, say, Twig, and you weren't mobile friendly, because that's so brand oriented and it's pretty obvious that you're the right answer, you probably would still come up. And if you really did have the right answer over other things, even if you weren't mobile friendly, you still might come up even if it wasn't a
I would hope
brand
so.
/ navigation thing.
Yeah,
But
Danny, it worked for me. My blog is not mobile friendly. I'll have my son fix it this summer. And by the way, it told me, I can see you're on WordPress. Here's what you do. Here's, go there and do this. But if I search for Jeff Jarvis, my site comes up first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that should continue to happen. It really is an impact where you have generic searches that are happening where if there are 11 possible answers and one of them is not mobile friendly, that site's the one that's likely to lose out in this sort of stuff.
Boy, Jeff, your site sucks.
I know.
Page appears not mobile friendly. Text too small to read. Mobile viewport not set. I don't know what that means. Links too close together. Content wider than screen. Jeff. This
To
page.
hell with you mobile people. I want people to sit in their chairs on their ass and read me.
The heck with you mobile folks.
Leo, can you send that page to Jeff's son? He's got to get on this.
What does that mean, Danny? Mobile viewport not set.
I think it's where you define the size of the screen and how it's shaped, if I remember correctly.
So
And
you
it'll
could
take
say
you through it.
on a screen of this size, the viewport should
Right.
be this size. Okay. And yours
Look
is
on the
just-
right where it says you're how to make this friendly. You're on WordPress.
Yeah.
It's it's very helpful.
In fact, it's some very straightforward stuff. And I suspect the problem is the theme that you're using, and you'll just change to a more mobile friendly theme. I'm on my Leoville is on WordPress, and it's
You don't have to worry, Jeff, because if I search for you on mobile for Jeff Jarvis, I just get this big
Jeff
thing
head.
at the top.
You get a
of the
Jeff
page,
head.
courtesy of Google Plus. So
Actually,
I
that
don't
image
even,
looks like it's from This Week in Google.
I don't even need
It's this
to.
horrible picture.
I don't even need to go to your website.
Oh. You've been
People also
scobalized.
search for Gina Trapani and Leo Laporte.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So we're associated with Jeff now.
Oh yeah, you are.
Damn.
And then there's Buzz Machine, number one after you get past all the other Google stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's fair. Oh, what's this Google Doodle?
Oh yeah, you got to click on it. That's the animal thing I was telling you earlier.
Oh, so this is Earth Day today.
Earth Day. So just click on the logo.
Which
You don't even
animal
have to-
are you? Earth Day quiz. What are you up to on a typical Friday night? Alone in my burrow, rarely seen out, strutting my stuff, following the herd. I'm not alone in my burrow. I'm in my burrow with my honey. But
Yeah,
I'll click alone in my burrow.
So you've got honey, so you're probably a bear.
I'm a honey badger. You and your best friend show up to a party wearing the same outfit. No big deal. How embarrassing. Fight. I'm going to fight if you wear the same outfit. Choose a snack. Seafood, fruit and or insects, meat or salad. What do you look for in a partner? Bright colors, loud grunting sounds, a complex system of glands, or old-fashioned values? Feats of strength, your hobby. Feats of strength, work around the house, swimming. None of the above. I think feats of strength. I'm a honey badger. I knew it. Your true friends know they can always call on you to scare away lions or fight a king cobra. So I should share this, right?
Oh yeah. It's
Oh
fun.
yeah.
I was checking. There's been about like
And you're a woolly
5 or
mammoth.
10
Woolly mammoth.
5 or 10 people sharing them per minute.
I'm a honey badger. Honey badger don't care, and I don't care. Share. But it doesn't share my honey badger picture. Just the, this is the picture I want to share. Look at that. That's fun. They pretty much have a Google Doodle every day now.
Yeah, it's getting that point. I mean, there's always a 37th or 123rd or,
Right. There's always something.
33rd anniversary that need to be celebrated.
I think they've taken the fun out of the Google Doodle.
Yeah.
Let's make it something special.
It,
Yeah.
it should
special
generate
enough.
cash that spills out on your desk. That
yeah.
would be impressive.
Wait a minute, I'm going to tweet it. Wait a minute. Maybe if I tweet it, I'll get my honey badger picture. Wouldn't that be sad? What is Google Plus? What's going on with Google Plus? I just read some stats that show that it is not exactly a.
Well, there was a guy on Forbes wrote a piece talking about how it's dead again.
I don't like the dead thing.
But he
But
trotted out those stats,
It's
which
not
were
giant.
no, it is absolutely not giant, and
Which isn't, by the way, a bad thing. I often like social networks
Yeah.
where it is an exclusive group of people.
right. Well, it's interesting because it's probably similar in size to Twitter in terms of the number of active users, but Twitter has every single journalist, lots of famous people, and the people you're going to find on Google Plus are often very, very smart and engaged, but
I
they're
agree.
less likely to be Lady Gaga or,
Right.
you know, Jeff Jarvis. Well, Jeff, no, there's a bad example because
Jeff's
Jeff is
on
on
there.
Google. He's one of the
Yeah.
people who's on Google Plus. But
Yeah.
but we had this, you know, over the weekend we had this big whoop-de-doo where this guy posted this thing and said, oh, it's, you know, it's dead, and then he just got hammered with traffic from Google Plus, from people passionately arguing in favor of Google Plus, and this happens every time. That doesn't mean that they've got a huge audience, but super passionate users, and so that's essentially where the dust is settled now. And Google Plus is the place where people who are passionate about something, usually technology, oftentimes, but every other thing, go, and we love it. But it's not sort of like a site for the masses. And it's not a site for celebrities and journalists. And it's not the site for everybody, which is what Facebook is. So everybody sucks compared to Facebook in terms of numbers and engagement. And Google Plus is, you know, it's good for the people it's good for, but it's just not everybody's cup of tea. You know, the truth is that some people want to interact with people they already know, and some people want to find new people. And Google Plus is the place to find new people. Facebook is the place to interact with people you already know, and Twitter is the place where you don't really interact so much as get information and
Right.
swap, you know, quick.
Yeah, Twitter's not about conversation
No,
by any means.
Yeah.
It's funny because every time somebody does a threaded conversation thing like Google Plus, like Jaiku, like I mean, I can go on and on friend feed, they fail.
Yeah.
People don't want to spend that much time.
No.
But the people who do, I think, are the people that you and I kind of are interested in
Right.
terms of engagement. I would say that's probably true of you too, Jeff.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about. It was a Google Plus post. No, Google hasn't released any information about their stats,
No,
but
they
somebody
don't.
did some sort of deep data mining.
Well, they
Well, Stone Temple did a huge report last
Temple.
week,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I don't even think we ended up covering in the end because we're sort of like,
Who
we don't
cares?
even care at this point. I mean, it's,
That's
It was
the,
taking
that's
a
the
lot of
saddest
people.
cut of all.
well,
I know, but you know, I think when you go back to Google Plus, I mean, my view of it is the Google online store, or it's the place for Google fandom. If you like Google products and services or whatever, that is your home for a lot of people that are there. In the way that, you know, you can go to an Apple store. Sometimes you see a lot of Apple fanatics or whatever. But, you know, I think the fact that sometimes the posts that get the most engagements are the posts about whether or not Google Plus is dead or not is both tiresome and indicative of how little traction the service has had broadly, because you never, ever see that happening on Facebook.
Nobody says
You never
Facebook's dead.
Nobody says Facebook is dead, and then the entire Facebook community turns out to try to say, "Oh no, it isn't. You're just not using it right. You haven't done this."
Well, part of the reason is,
and even on Twitter, I'll see sometimes people will debate whether or not Twitter is going to be dead or whatever, and people will argue it a bit among a small select group of people. Meanwhile, everybody else is all busy tweeting, their stuff. So I mean, I'm still on Google Plus. I found that personally the engagement is down, even though I haven't done anything different from day one. It sends traffic, it does, but it just.
Well, I actually think that the Google Plus is not a good place to. It's not a good way to send traffic. Yeah, there's a lot of engaged people, and you can send a lot of traffic, but people on Google Plus don't want to leave Google Plus, which is the opposite of Twitter. Twitter is almost always a link to somewhere else. On Google Plus, it's very difficult to drive. It's easier to get people to comment and engage and share than it is to get them to watch a video or just click on a link. And
Sure.
And one of the reasons I think there are two reasons why nobody has these arguments on Facebook. One of them is that on Facebook it's like oxygen. It's kind of there. People don't care about Facebook itself. Their people are there, and that's why they're there. And secondly, nobody loves Facebook. Like the people who love Google Plus really love it, and so they're always champing at the bit to have that argument. And so
you're missing the main reason it doesn't happen is because it's patently not dead.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the main reason. Whenever I hear people protesting, we're not dead yet, that's in a way an acknowledgement that it kind of looks dead.
Yeah.
But
here's a question. Here's a question for you. When was the last time, either Danny or Mike, when was the last time that they added a new feature to Google Plus?
It's dead from Google's point of view, right?
It's not
Vic's gone.
dead. It's in hibernation. They're not going to do anything more with it, and they're going to actually keep breaking out parts of it and spinning them off.
Kind of like Friend Feed was in hibernation.
It won't die. I mean, like in 5 years from now, they might eventually say, "Hey, by the way, that stream thing that we've been doing, that's the remaining part.
Right.
It's being sunsetted into Google Reader News, whatever, oblivion."
Just to put this in perspective, the kind of the bottom line of the Stone Temple analysis, they took a little more than 500,000 posts just at random and analyzed them and came up with a number that about the monthly active users, which is a number you could argue its value that both Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and others use to kind of say this is how big we are. The monthly active users somewhere around 23 million people on Google Plus, which sounds like a lot until you say 200 million at Twitter, 300 million at Instagram, over 1 billion at Facebook, monthly active users. 23 million, it's not dead. It's not dead. That's a lot of people. That's 23 million. That's more people than watch our show. And we're not dead. But it's just not on the scale of a Twitter or Facebook or even an Instagram.
Now, those are public posts, right? Now, Google Plus.
Well, he talks about that too, this idea that maybe a lot of people are posting behind the scenes.
Google Plus is a place of stage fright. When you post something on Google Plus, I don't know why, but it seems really consequential. People are timid about it. Part of the reason is that people will jump on you. It's a very critical, criticism-oriented community. And so anything time you post anything, you can say, the sky is pretty. And people will jump on you to disagree about it. So a lot of people are shy. And I imagine that the vast majority of engagement is not public. And there's no way for anybody to measure that unless you go through and take a poll or something.
But it also then doesn't matter. And I mean, that was the argument Google made when they launched, which was, oh, well, you can't see. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes or whatever. It's like, fine. For the most part, if someone is trying to consider Google Plus alongside other social networks as a social media manager, they don't see the value there. And that's been demonstrated even from the height of Google doing everything they could do to get you onto it. And at this point, Google doesn't even seem to be trying to convince the social media managers that they should be doing stuff on Google Plus. I mean, they just really don't. I mean, it's not, Beyonce isn't getting a free Google Plus to wear on her wrist or anything like that. It's just, it's whatever. It's there, and the tools are being spun out or whatever. And it's almost like we don't even want to talk about the Google Plus. It's all streams and photos or whatever and stuff like that. From a consumer point of view, I guess they still try to get you to sign up for it when you get things, but usually I see that stuff is like because you want your photos or you want this other stuff and things like that. And so you know, in the past, and then lastly, the big lever that they really had to let Google Plus push beyond its weight had been the search results, where they said, well, you know, authorship's all hooked up and we're doing all these things. And that got a lot of publishers to say, all right, I guess it really is worth my time to do it. When they took all that stuff away, even though the Google Plus connection is still very strong for personalized search results, and, you know, there's a reason why people are connected with you, you may do better with it. Even that doesn't even seem to be working for people. So
yeah, but you know, I'm actually, I always come across like this, you know, Google Plus can do no wrong, but that is not the case at all. I think there's tons of room for criticism of Google Plus, but I think people criticize the wrong thing. If you have any sort of hobby or enthusiasm, I guarantee you go there and search for that enthusiasm, whether it's macrame or basket weaving or, you know, robot building or beer brewing or whatever it is. I don't care how obscure your enthusiasm is. You're going to find a teeming community of active people, passionate about it, knowledgeable. And by the way, you can search Google Plus. Like hardly anybody criticizes Facebook, which you can't even search. You can't even search this social network, and nobody says a word about it. The problem with Google Plus is that ironically, their algorithms are horrible. You go to the notifications, and you're getting stuff in other languages. Like Google doesn't even know I speak English. Like, how is that even possible? Yeah, I go in there and I get all this engagement, and there's this thing at the top that says show comments removed as spam. They have an algorithm.
Right.
Twitter's in the news this week for introducing something like this, that an algorithmically based way.
Do you notice that's pretty accurate?
It's not accurate at all.
Terrible.
It's terrible.
Wow.
They take in every
I see
post
a lot of comments that are removed for no good
comments
reason.
from good people are flagged as spam.
Yeah.
And I have to spend a huge amount of time slogging through there and deflagging or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
How is it possible that Google can't get that right after all these years? These are the kinds of things that Google deserves massive criticism for. But if you're a user, who cares if social media managers use it or not? If you have an enthusiasm you want it, and you're looking for a community to engage with over your enthusiasm, Google Plus is untouchable in that area.
Makes me sad because going back to the well.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a place where people like me could gather. Elites.
Yeah.
Tech elite. And talk and not be flamed and not be trolled and have a greed conversation. Friend feed for that. You know, the well was briefly. Friend feed was that for me briefly. Jaiku was that for me briefly. Google Plus had that promise. Maybe there isn't going to be a place like that. Maybe we don't need. Maybe you should just have regular friends in real life. It's a concept I'm not sure I'm ready to absorb.
Well, I think Mike has an important point that if Google had seen it, it is a very good platform for communities as opposed to individual relationships. And they didn't really take advantage of it. They saw it early days on with photography, and they didn't do the right thing by it.
Is Google Groups still here, or is that gone? Because that's really that's what Google Groups is. Yeah, they still have Google Groups. They should have replaced Google Groups with Google Plus, maybe, huh?
But give it a shot. Like, search for anything. Search for cupcakes.
I know. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's like
there's a baker's group that you and I are both members of.
That's the Art of Bread.
The Art of Bread. It's phenomenal.
But that's a community. But even if you don't use it, like communities, I think are a mixed bag. But just every stream is a search result.
Yeah.
Like the elegance of that is there's Twitter.
There's our cupcakes.
but I mean, this is the cupcake community on Google Plus is just foaming at the mouth with enthusiasm. I mean, this is like a really vibrant, enthusiastic, engaged community around anything. And it's like, it's not about
good cupcakes.
It's not about here's another cat photo.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
It's about if you search for cupcakes, you're unlikely to see cats. Or are you?
You'll see cat cupcakes at some point. There's my cupcake post there.
What? Cupcakes with what?
Cupcakes
nachos?
that look like nachos.
Nacho cupcakes? What the hell?
Anyway, 234 plus ones for my nacho cupcake.
That's crossing the streams and 43 reshares. That's not bad.
Yeah. So I
Buffalo chicken Super Bowl cupcakes? No, I think not.
Anyway, so I think each of the social networks has something for. There's a social network for everybody.
You're going to get this exact argument from people who are Pinterest fans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. It's very Pinterest-like.
But the difference, though, I mean, and I agree with you. If whatever is your home, that's good.
Yeah.
And if you're finding a place that's there, that's wonderful. But no one questions whether or not Pinterest sends lots of traffic. And I mean, they just don't. Not the people who are in charge of, say, doing social media because that's their profession and trying to reach out to audiences. And I get that that's going to be different from necessarily the people who are trying to use it, but they just don't question it. You know, Pinterest is a huge powerhouse with communities and with all this stuff as well. So it's, you know, ultimately Google wanted, despite whatever they want to talk about, saying Google Plus was just a layer and all this stuff, they wanted it to be a Facebook challenger. They wanted it to be a social destination, and it's just not stepped up to being that kind of a challenger to these other things. And so either they're out of that space, or it's going to be some time until they figure out another way to approach it. I don't know which of those are. That's not, again, to take away from the people who are there and that are active and doing everything. But when, you know, we got Facebook earnings going right now. Facebook is making oodles and oodles of money off of social-based advertising. That's not money Google's making, and that's Google money that Google wants, and they don't have a product to get it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, Google's rolled out all kinds of really. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry for the lag here. I think it's not. I've been thinking about this lately. Eager for your reaction to this. I don't think it's just social. I think what Twitter has, I mean, what Twitter has, but what Facebook has is a stream, and getting somebody's attention for a time of a stream to keep strolling along, and the chat communities and Twitter and all that, but as Facebook above all has the stream. That's where we want to get our content into it and our advertising into it, and that's the value. And Google doesn't have a stream.
Well, and that's what I was writing about. This is what I did in March. I wrote this thing called The Web of Streams, and I was talking about how when we got that new name, that suddenly it was photos and streams, and it was like, yeah, you're right. You know, you have an Instagram stream, you got a Facebook stream, you got a Facebook stream. You know, you can argue to some degree that Snapchat, when you go through it, you have a stream that's kind of going there, and Yahoo's trying to do stream, and then it's like, what's the Google stream? Well, you know, I think Google's best stream actually is YouTube. And going back to what you said, Leo, where my kids will do the same thing. They load up YouTube and it just goes boom, 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 boom. But then I think where Google misses is that that's not the case when you're on, say, mobile, where, you know, they might not, I think, just let YouTube keep playing on the mobile device. I just haven't seen that kind of behavior. Maybe it's going off, but what I kind of wonder is if they couldn't roll out what I called YouTube Gram or something like that, where basically, you know, you're flipping through and it's all short-form video.
Hey,
it's like,
they missed the boat on
Meerkat
and Periscope. Google had the technology and just didn't.
Years ago.
It
was incredible.
Yeah, and they could do that, but that's different than the short form videos that are popular with Vine or that are popular with Instagram, where I can consume this video on a mobile device and it's 15 seconds and I'm done. And when you do it in those small amounts, it also means it's very easy for advertisers to come along and say, oh, and by the way, we're going to insert this as well. And they don't have that sort of thing for YouTube because there's just no division of it. And there's no strong thing, I think, on mobile to go, I'm bored, I just want to flip through YouTube stuff and be entertained, and I need to keep channel swapping or whatever.
Can't do it. Yeah.
I think that's an opportunity for them if they get it together. But
well, they're going in the wrong direction. I mean, originally Google Plus used to auto update. You could set up any sort of stream, any sort of search, any of your circles, and it would just sit there. And every time there's a new item, it would just chunk through. I used to have Google Plus take up 1/3 of my screen, and it would just sit there full time. Then they did a redesign, and it doesn't work anymore. This is
the late lamented track feature from Twitter, going back maybe 7 years. Twitter used to have this thing where you track a topic.
Yeah.
And when they took it out, was actually early in the days of Twit. We were very much involved in the Steve Gilmore's bear hug movement to get track back in Twitter, a movement that was ill-fated because they never did bring it back.
Yeah.
There is something about that kind of thing. I don't know why. It seems like that's something Google would embrace, but
yeah.
So what is you clearly, if you're a company like Google, you don't want to say we're going to chase after the app of the moment. That's crazy. But maybe you don't have the people that can create the next big app. Maybe that's not where those people end up.
I personally think the problem with Google Plus is that all the vision left with Vic Gundotra. I think what happened was there was a massive, bloody world war within Google between Sundar Pichai and Vic Gundotra. And Sundar Pichai won, and Vic Gundotra left. And so now they're grinding salt in Vic Gundotra's fields.
What is Vic doing these days?
He is living off the fat of the land, as far as I can tell. He's still active on Google Plus, but as far as I know, he hasn't
taken a new gig.
Right.
Even as a VC.
But I mean, Vic Gundotra was on this backed by Larry Page, was on this sort of crusade to integrate every single Google property into Google+. And it was the internal politics that enabled him to start to achieve that. And there was so much pushback internally, and someday somebody should write a book, Jeff Jarvis, about what happened. But basically, he ended up losing that battle, and they've been since just decoupling it. And
by the way, almost exactly a year ago, April 24th, 2014.
Yeah.
So almost to the day, 1 year ago, that Vic Gundotra left Google+. And I think it has been at least a year since there was any change to Google+ at all. I mean, that's it.
There have been changes here and there, pretty small stuff, and some of them not good. For example, they gave up on the real names policy, and that was one of the first things they did. Yeah, the combination of continuing to be integrated with YouTube and also having real names made Google+ a lot more like YouTube in terms of crap comments. And so the comments, you have to be more vigilant in order to weed out the lousy, nonsensical comments nowadays because of those two changes. And those are not necessarily a change for the better. I think if Google+ had started out with no real names policy, you know, when people were clamoring for it, they should have done it. They didn't. Then they waited till nobody cared anymore, and then they enacted the real names policy. It's just the timing was just way off. And so anyway, I just think it has a lot more to do with what's happening internally at Google and less to do with Google's true strategic objectives.
And it's Kremlinology, looking at what the result is to figure out what's going on inside. It's a black box. Apparently, according to Bloomberg Business Week, Elon Musk had a deal to sell Tesla to Google in 2013. I don't know if, was it widely known that Tesla, and this is from Ashley Vance's book, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future. Was it widely known that in 2013 Tesla was almost bankrupt?
I don't think it was. not to my knowledge, it wasn't.
According to the book,
Danny Sullivan would have known.
Danny Sullivan would know if anybody did.
If they were going to do Tesla, I wouldn't know that.
If they were going to be bankrupt.
They had a profit in May 8th, 2013. That was their first profit announcement. And weeks before, according to Ashley Vance, they had been on the verge of bankruptcy, struggling to turn pre-orders into actual sales. Musk put his staff on a crisis footing to save Tesla and began negotiating with Larry Page a deal to sell the company to Google.
Now, it's possible that more is being made of this than the events merit.
How so?
Well, Ashley Vance is selling a book, and this is an excerpt from the book. And essentially, as he says in the excerpt, Elon Musk and Larry Page are personal friends.
Right.
And so
could have been over a drink.
They said, you know what? Yeah, let's get together and just see if there's anything here. Obviously, the deal didn't happen. So you don't know if they were in negotiations and they were on the brink of buying Tesla, or if they chit-chatted and said, yeah, no, we'll pass. I mean, those are two very different things.
The story says that Musk wanted $6 billion plus a commitment for $5 billion in capital to expand factories. Probably would have been, in hindsight, would have been, I don't know, would it have been a good deal? $11 billion. I don't know if Tesla's justified that.
I think it will be eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I called 2 years ago for Apple to buy it. I think that would be a cool purchase. And
there were a lot of rumors that was about to happen.
And they've never ceased, but I just want to own an Apple Tesla somehow. I don't know why, but
we're going to take a break, come back with more. How about building your own Apple Tesla with Little Bits? Could you do that? I don't know. I have the Little Bits Deluxe kit. It sure does a lot. 5 million possible circuit combinations, 15 projects in a box. You know, on Triangulation on Monday, we talked to the producer and director of a new film called Coding, debugging the gender gap in technology. And one of the things she said, and I completely agree with her, is part of the solution is to give kids, boys and girls, access to things like Little Bits. Get them, she actually mentioned Little Bits by name because Little Bits is so accessible and so much fun that it can get your kid into electronics projects. The Little Bits Deluxe kit comes with a great book and a description of all the different pieces, the pulse, the sound trigger, the timeout, the fork. What's neat about these is you can't put them together wrong. There's no soldering. So you kind of have immediate gratification, even for a doofus like me. When you're putting them together right, they snap together, but the magnets in here will prevent you from putting them together wrong. And so it's easy enough to come up with just a kit of your own or to follow the instructions. I think what will happen is, and by the way, color coding tells you what each part does. So pink modules affect the modules after them. The blue modules are there's the power module. The green modules are activities. They do something. So for instance, this green module is a speaker. This is the pulse. I think I've just invented something incredible. We'll just plug it in and see what happens. It's so cool. I want you to try these out. A great gift for kids, whether they're yours, nephews, or nieces, even parents, coders, hardware hackers, makers, artists, and designers love Little Bits. You can get your dog to text. Yes, you can. Or make a robotic snack server. Why buy electronic toys or gadgets when you can build your own? Invent them yourself. There are over 60 modules. They can be used in virtually limitless creative combinations. I just think the idea, whether your kid's going to become a maker or not, the idea that the kid understands a little bit better how things fit together, you just can't go wrong with this. And you may be lucky because you may get a kid who goes, wow, I think I've got an idea for something I'm going to call the Hyperloop. The base and deluxe kit's a great way to get started. Space Kit was worked on in partnership with NASA, so it's a great way to explore Earth and space science. There is an Arduino coding kit for kids who are ready to start programming. We love the Arduino. Now, the deluxe kit that I've got has 18 modules. They snap together with billions of circuits, no wiring or soldering, and you can make something in seconds. There's a synth kit. Kids who like to make music and make sound and make noise love the synth kit. And, of course, Arduino is great for anybody who wants to program and manipulate the outside world. I just think these are so great. Now, we're going to give you $20 off your first kit when you go to littlebits.com, littlebits.com/twig, plus free shipping in the U.S. Little, little, B-I-T-S, bits.com/twig. Everyone can build electronics and learn about them with Little Bits, and $20 off your first order makes it even more little bit-ish, little-bit-alicious. Littlebits.com/twig. And if you make something, would you Instagram me, Mr._Laporte? And I'd love to share. I haven't actually checked, but I would love to share some Little Bits projects from our Twig listeners. There's not a health kit yet, but that must be just a matter of time. So you had this story in search engine land, the story of the man who put Edward Snowden's secret den inside the White House. Danny, how did that happen?
That's actually a really interesting story. So, a reader tipped us to it saying, check this out or whatever, and we looked at it. And it's not unusual. You might find a weird thing on Google Maps. It's unusual when you find a weird thing that's been verified by Google.
Wow.
That listing was literally like, Google verifies this is Edward Snowden.
By the way, it looks where the Oval Office is to be.
Yeah, actually, it's not where the Oval is because I had to go look it up. I thought it was too because it's all curvy like that.
Yeah.
But if you zoom out, the Oval Office is actually in the West Wing, and then you'll see another curvy bit. So I got to learn a little
White House geography.
I got to learn White House geography. Yeah, exactly. That was my first thing. In fact, my headline originally I started to write Oval Office. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So,
by the way, it's gone now. Darn it.
What happened was there's a guy named Brian Seeley, and I did a follow-up interview. It might be linked at the end of this story, or you can search for him by the name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is, how that long thing. So you might recall about a year ago, this thing came out where Google Maps, somebody had made listings for the FBI and the Secret Service on Google that were verified, and people started calling them to leave tips and things. That was this guy, Brian Seeley, who basically was doing this because he's frustrated that Google does not take the security of their search listings more relevant or more strict.
Seriously, yeah.
And so he did a TED Talk the week before this latest thing happened, and he'd set this whole thing up so that he could show as part of his TED Talk in Kirkland in Washington State how you can go through and do this.
Well, let me talk about my because we're a verified listing, the Twit Brick House, and the way it worked is I created the listing in Google Places, and then they say, okay, so we can verify this by sending you a postcard,
right?
And so they sent a postcard to that address. and it had a code on it, and I went back in and I entered the code, and now that at least proves that I have access to mail at that address. That seems like a fairly good way to verify it. There are other ways, but that's, I think, the simplest. So how did he get around that?
Well, but they also got your phone number, right?
That's where it goes wrong. So you got to verify by phone number or mailing address, whatever. So you do the verification by postcard. It comes to the physical address. You got this little PIN code. You call in and you enter the code, and they go, okay, well, someone clearly was at that address, could get the mail, and that's what he did.
Right.
And then you delete the listing, or you don't delete the listing, you delete your ownership over that listing, and you leave it all alone, right, with the phone number that was also part of it.
So he made a listing that went to somewhere like his house.
He had like a local,
real place,
a real place.
Okay.
So then after you've kind of released it and let the listing be an orphan, you go back over with a new Google account and you claim it, and because then you have to re-verify it. You re-verify it using the phone number, which you still control.
Right.
Once you've re-verified it with the phone number, you can move that listing all the way across the country if you want to, which is exactly what he did. And if you look at the number at the time, the number was a 206. It was the Seattle phone number
in Washington, D.C.
So that's how you ended up with the Seattle phone number for Edward Snowden being in the White House. And so it was interesting because after it happened, I didn't know who did it. And I thought maybe it was that same thing. And I remember being on vacation when the other stuff had broken up about the Secret Service. And then he called out on me at Twitter. He's like, yeah, I'm the guy who did it. So I called him to the quick interview with him from there. But what's interesting to me is that, we went back to Google PR, and Google PR is like, oh, yeah, this is like a minor thing and, rarely happens. And, there's a few people and we, patch things up, whatever. And he's like, yeah, they knew about this whole before I did the Secret Service stuff. Then they closed it for 6 weeks after it. Then they reopened it again. So it's still sitting out there. And, I do think there's some validity to the fact that it speaks to Google not maybe doing the effort that they could do with local. That it's one of those. Google likes to do things at scale. They want everything to be automated and everything to be happen and all just magically come together, whatever. And local seems to be one of those things where actually it might be useful to have a lot of people involved with it, both from working with the local businesses and getting them online to making sure the information's verified or whatever. And until they make that kind of a commitment, I think you're going to have, these kinds of weird oddities come up. Now, most people don't see them happening, I suppose. So, but still, it is strange that you could let that sort of thing go through, especially when you knew about it over a year before.
So I could release my twit thing, and I could then, and there's still, the hole's still there, right?
Yeah.
The loophole's still there.
Yep.
So I could release this move twit into the White House, rename it.
Yep.
The White House Podcast Studio.
Yep.
And they would phone me, and I would verify it, and it'd be done.
Who do you want to put Twit at?
I think Twit should be in Langley at the CIA headquarters, or maybe in McLean at the NSA headquarters. Or that new facility they just built in Utah.
Now the downside for you, of course, is once you do that, it's going to burn your listing and you can't afford to do it. But what his real concern is not that people are doing it with these
real
attention-grabbing things, but they're doing it with smaller listings for fake businesses, and they're actually making real money off of it.
How would they make money off of it?
Well, you could set up a business as if you were a locksmith in a location where you don't actually have a location. You could potentially pretend to be another business and let it get burned after you pulled in some people who are calling saying, I want this business to come out, right? Like, imagine you make a fake listing for a florist or whatever, and then you put it next to some other florist, then you start getting phone calls. People think they're calling that actual florist. You're like, oh, yeah, I'll send that out to you. What do you want, whatever. And now you kind of hijacked their customers that thought they were reaching the other place or your pizza joint or whatever. And, so there are things that could be done if you're really kind of going at it. And they're the kind of people who will go through and do that sort of stuff. So that's the real concern.
It's for trolls could use it to troll, basically.
Sure.
Well, and also people who are in a business where there's just one person and they're competing against a big company, they could make it seem like they are also a big company when in fact it's just somebody in a basement somewhere.
Microsoft support, right? You put your thing out there for.
But you could always. I mean, I don't know. I could maybe kind of sympathize a little bit with Google that it's the damage is kind of not is de minimis in most. I can't think of a.
Well, we don't know that because we don't know.
Right.
They tell us that these things are really, really rare. This other guy's like, they're not rare, and I'm really concerned about it. And that's, and so, you know, the truth may lie in there somewhere in between, but it's you know, it doesn't seem difficult to say to Google, hey, if someone like tried to change their address and it's like moving it from 5 miles from where it was before, maybe you ought to send out another postcard. I mean, it's how hard is it, right? I mean, it's routine. Did point on map get moved more than 5 miles outside where it was? Trigger remove verification, send new verification postcard.
Right. When is it? I think Back to the Future Day is this year, isn't it? Is it October?
Yeah. Oh, coming up.
Pretty soon. Quartz has a great article. What Back to the Future got right about tech in 2015. Flat screen TVs, yes. Video calling. Believe it or not, we're actually doing that. Biometrics, 3D. We don't have self-tying shoelaces. Well, we do, but they're just expensive.
Yeah.
And we have yet to have drones. They got right, but we have yet to get the floating hoverboard, programmable home. So here's a Google this is also from Quartz, a Google patent. A patent does not mean they're making it, folks, but they have patented reactive paint that could actually turn a wall painted with photoreactive paint into a screen.
Yeah,
this still would use a projector.
This is actually a wider trend that I see happening. There's actually a child's product called the Lumo interactive projector, and it basically projects things onto a floor or a wall, and then kids can interact with it. It's a touch display on the floor or the wall.
That's what HoloLens is going to end up doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft augmented reality glasses.
Yeah, and Microsoft has a patent for IllumiRoom. Remember that, which is projects peripheral vision gameplay content on the walls and ceilings and floors when you're using Xbox. I think that this is, and of course the vision videos from Microsoft and Samsung are loaded with this kind of thing, using walls and windows and desks and floors and surfaces as the next interface. I think this is going to be so great when this happens. Like, I want the whole wall to be like a computer screen. I just think that's the coolest idea. We already have the technology. We just don't have it at a cost that's ready for the mainstream.
Did you see, this is, I'm going to skip this ad here and show you. This is from Philco Ford. They made this in 1966, what life will be like in 1999 AD. And it's actually the most depressing, dystopic version of life. This poor kid's school. Oh, there's your computer, by the way. Menu Tuesday.
Multi-screens.
Multi-screen.
You're turning knobs and stuff.
This poor kid, this is the kid's school. He's all alone in a room.
Yeah.
And he flunks his test. And he has to now go over to the other. Apparently, there's one massive computer in the middle of the house.
Yeah.
And the poor kid has to go over to the other computer, turn a knob, then go sit down at the other computer and take the lecture again.
Little did they know, in reality, he'd be like flipping over to PewDiePie on YouTube.
Yeah, but PewDiePie, they did not predict PewDiePie, I can tell you that. Here's Mom, of course.
In the kitchen, I think that'd be much better there.
Yeah, Mom likes to cook. And flowers. Of course, it's 66, so it's an incredibly sexist vision of what the future.
Actually, that's not correct. What was happening there was Mom's actually a work-at-home developer, and she's been working on this menu app, and she is interacting with it right there. We can reinterpret this and make the future be the way the future should be.
Look, the plates are coming down out of the things.
That's just...
Apparently, the future is very physical and knob-oriented.
Yeah.
Look at that carpet.
Shag carpeting of the future.
They haven't solved that one. But
No.
By the way, is Philco still around? I don't think they... It's dinner time.
Wow, that is depressing.
It is the most depressing view of the future I have ever.
I think it's interesting that almost all of the future visions involved, like, the computer was a knob-turning interface.
Yeah.
Like, what are these knobs?
Yeah. Well, that's what they knew, right? Look at Dad on his...
and now the man is going to balance the budget.
Yeah. It probably is. Look at all the knobs he has to turn.
Right. Again, to be clear, that is simply her assistant who is back at the office, who is taking her. He's received her programming instructions that she has created because she is the programmer, and he is merely the key entry person.
Yes.
Who will be putting this in there.
Look at the stylus.
That's why she works at home, by the way, because she's been so successful that she can just do the stuff where she wants, and this guy has to just take care of these things for her.
More knobs.
The other thing is that the computers are specialized. So there's a shopping computer, and then there's a and so they didn't envision that you could do a million times more than this with a smartphone.
The person who did this really didn't have much of a grasp of the present, let alone the future. This is a patch bay and knobs.
Yeah.
Maybe Philco was in the knob business.
Right.
That's gonna.
There was the great knob collapse of 1968. It was tragic. You might recall you used to go into the stores and there used to be the big knob testing things next to the vacuum tube testing machines. So if you didn't have the right knob, you could kind of put it in there, and But now we have 3D printing, so you can just. Here we are doing some working out. Good job.
Yeah. There's the
in his
family
off
gym.
hours. This man is a personal trainer for the family. She has him come in.
He's
Sometimes
tired.
it's tough.
Thank God he has a knob. There's a knob.
She works him hard. She works him hard. She works him hard.
Oh my God, what is going on? Oh my God, I don't know if this is good. This doesn't look good.
What is going on
He's
there?
done.
He's some tan. He's getting some tan.
He's getting a tan. Wow, this is on YouTube. This is the grimmest vision of the future I have ever.
Now he's refreshed.
Seen it's from Philco Ford. You could search for.
I mean, to be fair, that could be my desktop with just the screens, but not the rest of
they had
this
big
stuff.
screens, yeah.
Oh, what's his name?
Yeah, he looks familiar.
Well, they got my haircut right. That's one
Mike
thing they
Elgan's
got
in
right.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he's bringing up a map to go to Pebble Beach. Nice.
This is what I imagine the computer scene in North Korea looks like.
What's his name?
Wink Martindale.
Thank you very much.
Chat room got that one. Wink Martindale. Lars in Michigan, the
Thank
first.
you, chat room. I knew you would.
I'm going to have to get about 2 strokes aside because I haven't been playing all winter and I'm a little rusty.
This should necessarily be Mystery Science Future Computer 4000, and we'll just do the narration of it.
We should. I like the idea.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at the office, the home office, she's wondering why he still hasn't finished the things that she's demanded.
Oh, well, she's making a pot.
It's a 3D printer.
It's 3D printing, exactly. Thank you.
Oh, and look at the lovely pots she's been making. She's a talented artist. That one on the left looks like
these will all be rendered into the computer.
ceramic.
I want to know what kind of pots they were smoking when they made this video.
Oh my goodness, isn't it fun?
I just want the music from Ghost to be playing now.
This is what parties in 1999 will look like.
Those are the party knobs. Look, what are they going to do there?
Oh, I remember this scene from Logan's Run. Is this where Jessica Six appears? And I didn't mean to put myself on the circuit. Oh dear.
Bongos of the future.
I do not
money
have the words.
making this piece of junk.
This is another aspect of human nature that futurists always get wrong. For example, when they invented the telephone, they thought people in the country would listen to opera over the telephone.
Over the telephone.
The thing is that people don't stop and pay attention to things if it's not live. Only live music causes everybody to stop talking, face the music. If it's recorded or just on a projector, people just talk to it. Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that is clearly wrong that you can see here is that no one is using their phones to take pictures of the screen.
Right.
and
Or
tweet it out
themselves
with the
watching.
appropriate. There's no hashtag being displayed. How do I even know what I'm supposed to be saying about this?
Yeah.
Although that could be
Bongo Tuesday. I don't understand.
that could be Jeff Needles in Havana, like meerkatting this to back home.
It's true.
All right, there you go. This is the home of the future, year 1999 AD.
That's beautiful.
From Philco Ford.
Boy, he's hitting some high notes there.
Oh, in the future, men will sing like women.
At this point, they ran out of futuristic things, so they're like, just go long on him.
And now we bring on the conga group. Let them sing for 12 minutes, and we're done.
Yeah, that'll be done. This damn thing had to go 15 minutes.
Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
People still applaud in the future.
Apparently, women in the future have I Dream of Jeannie hairdos.
Yeah, and they applaud when something's on TV. It's like,
right.
Why did anybody think that would ever happen?
It's two-way. Hey, it was two-way. It was two-way.
Well, at least they're racially integrated.
Yeah.
I was impressed by that, actually. It is very integrated there. Oh, it's gone now. What's the 1920s? What the future will look like?
Oh well, I don't know. Let's let's go even farther back in time.
I love the future from the the 18th century future where everybody has a personal dirigible and
this we're doing right now. What we were talking about, we were watching, and we're working here. And we're watching a stream of YouTube videos, one after the other. And YouTube did the right thing, by the way, which is instead of showing me a grid of possible videos to watch featuring women in bikinis, they've actually segued into another video. I don't know when they changed that, but that's something that does encourage that kind of just sit here and watch the future.
So this is the future, a.k.a. 1930 or 1940 in
by
this case
1940, dirigible trains.
Trains will have propellers. By 1950,
well, that's true. We saw that in D.C. The guy just flew the gyrocopter. So let's, and the Channel Tunnel exists.
Is it Channel Tunnel or carpal tunnel? I thought he was entering the carpal tunnel.
He pulled down the table and all the plates were
already there. In the future, the table's already set.
What's that?
That gun went off a little prematurely, I think.
Why?
That is terrifying. What is that?
It's a lady
That's
robot.
just animation. This is Frozen.
By 1960.
Boy, they really nailed the 60s.
There were gears, pistons, and buildings.
2000. Oh, I wish this vision.
Spotlights.
That's what happened in San Francisco. They built a bunch of elevated freeways, which they've since torn down.
They got the traffic jams, right? Traffic jams,
ugly.
right?
And there'll be biplanes everywhere in the city.
Flying all over.
Drones. But you can't fly with just one set of wings. Come on. Come on. This is crazy.
Oh, what year is this? This is definitely the far future.
Madonna is being anticipated early on.
Yeah.
It's the sleeves. What does it? Apparently, in AD 2000, we shall be having a hair-raising time.
They'll still talk with that phony Hollywood accent.
So far as to believe that skirts
By the way, the same thing in the Philco Ford from 1966. They all have that kind of weird pseudo-British accent.
Yeah.
Why did they? I don't.
Well, they got climatic changes. They were talking about global warming in the 20s. It's awesome.
They knew.
That scientifically kept at the right temperature. The future bride in a wedding dress of glass.
A wedding dress of glass. The future bride in the wedding dress of glass.
Of aluminium.
Aluminium.
Well, they got that right. Johnny Ive says it like that.
Electric headlights in her hair.
I would kill if her wife comes out now to get married to her.
That would be great.
For coins, keys, and candy for cuties.
What is he wearing on his head? And
good
isn't he needed back at the Game of Thrones dressing room right now?
Any period of history is a direct outcome of the social, economic, and technical conditions then existing. Cities of the future would be laid out to a master plan.
The show is completely devolved, but
I don't know. This has nothing to do with Twig.
No, I think it's completely
We're
fine.
going to stop right now and move on.
I think there's a whole nother show here.
Watching YouTube videos. Google Glass 2.0. This is a patent from, and it looks like, what?
No, I just can't even look at it. Like I was thinking the other day, am I ever going to turn them on again?
It looks like that you're looking into the glass.
They move the prism to the left, and then they put the camera on the right.
That fixes it all.
Yeah, I think that what would fix it would eliminate
balancing out the dorkiness.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was too leaned over with dork this way, but now
you got dork on both sides.
Now it's fine.
Oh Lord. What would fix it?
To make the camera removable. The problem that everybody has is the camera.
Yeah.
And for people who want notifications, if they can shrink that prism down to the point where it's almost indistinguishable and make the camera either optional or non-existent, it would be great. You'd have notifications, you'd be able to see things, you get, but until they, as long as it's, the other thing is that the tech press was proven hypocritical about the camera, but he said it was an invasion of privacy. But the second Meerkat hit, all those same journalists were out there filming everything in sight,
just like
doing exactly what they said Google Glass would enable people to do.
Meerkat would be the perfect app for Google Glass, too.
Wouldn't it?
Hey, Danny, is this new on Google? You enter in a geometric equation like X times sine Y.
The giant calculator?
And you do a search for it, and it gives you the graph.
I can't keep track now.
It's from Wolfram Alpha, I think.
They probably have had that for a little bit.
That's kind of cool.
I think so.
Yeah, I like that. All right,
I do all my math on Google now.
Yeah.
It's usually a little less complicated than that. It's usually like 5 divided by 13.
You don't use sign calculations much.
You know, I mean, sometimes I like to do a little infinite number testing, but you know, for the most part, I just stick with basic arithmetic.
Wow, this is wild. The Google.
I only got 10 fingers.
That's a search result.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Well, the other interesting search result is that if you lose your Android phone, you can search for it on
your
Google.
phone.
You can Google it.
Oh yeah. That's
so what
good.
do I do? What do I do? Okay, so I have. What do I going to do to Google my phone?
I lost my phone.
You type "find my phone" in a Google search.
Find my phone.
Doesn't work for me.
And you have to sign in again to get your phone's location. All right, I'm going to sign in again.
And then it'll screw up because if you have multiple apps or if you have Google apps, it doesn't like it.
Well, it can see which phone too, and I have a list of phones, so I can say which. I wonder where my I'd love to know where my Nexus 6 is. I really want to start using that for Fi.
Right, because you sold it years ago. I'm wondering where it is now.
Who has my Nexus 6 now? No, actually, it's at home. I'm glad I kept it.
And there it is.
And there you go. There's my Nexus 7 right there. It's actually it's in my hand. It's right next to me.
I didn't even know I had a phone. What's an XT1058?
That's the Moto X.
Oh yeah.
So there's the OnePlus One. There's the Moto E. A couple of Samsung phones. The Moto X.
GTP3113.
You should have renamed them when you had them.
It's just so hard. I
know.
It's almost like when you're dealing with your Kindle. 6th Android device.
I just installed something on my 47th Kindle.
Yeah.
My 47th Kindle. I don't know how that happened. Every time you install the Kindle app, it counts as one, I guess.
Right.
It's good to know I have 47 Kindles somewhere. Just want to run down, make sure we get all of these before we wrap it up and get our tips and tricks and numbers of the week in here. What are their big stories? Oh, let's give Jeff Jarvis a chance to raise his blood pressure real quickly. The French government.
Whoa, what?
That's all you have to say.
The French, I had to wake up Jeff. French Senate backs bid to force Google to disclose how its search algorithm works. Next, they'll be asking Coke what its secret formula is.
Oh, what is that?
And then they admit that it's not legal within EU law, so it's ridiculous, so it's just another show trial.
So they can't even if they voted to do that, they can't do it.
It's ridiculous.
This is the French Senate. They haven't approved the law, but this is a bill approved by the French Senate. And the other part of it that's really wonderful is that they would require Google to offer direct searches or links from Google.com, the homepage, which Google doesn't put anything on there mostly,
right?
To 3 competing search engines, and one of those competing search engines has to be a French search engine.
Are there any?
There are. There's Voila.
But then the French sold their search technology that the government held back, like Quario, over to. I mean, it's really going back in time, but yeah. And Voila. Does Voila still exist?
It does. It does. It's the #1 search engine in France.
Of course it is.
And
really?
Yes.
VOLANTE.
Just Voila.
Not.
Oh, Voila.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say it's the #1 search engine in France, you're joking, right?
No. It's the highest traffic search engine that is owned by a French company.
Oh, right. So it's
that's
right.
There's
Yeah.
a slight difference.
It's not. Yeah, no, it's not
between
big,
that and being the #1 search
it's not
engine.
bigger than any search engine that people have heard of.
Voila, mes sorties.
Yeah, and it's so this is the absurdity. This would be required to be on Google.com.
Yeah. Look how you spell oops in French. OUPS. Oops.
So see, we learned something on Voila.
Non trouvé.
To some degree, that's what Google used to do, right? And actually, you don't really. This is the stupidity of, say, lawmakers. Well, we'll put it on the Google homepage because not as many people who search on Google actually go to Google at the homepage. Right. They actually just get to it because they did their search from Chrome or everything. So what they really want is that these would be listed, say, at the bottom of Google search results, which people with long memories will remember that's what Google used to do when they were starting out, and they were a little tiny search engine. They used to say, also try your search on Alta Vista or Excite or all these other things.
I'm in an oops loop.
And you know what?
Get
If
out
I
of
were
the oops.
Google, I'd be like,
Loop being spelled
yeah,
L-O-U-P.
you want us to put it there? Fine, we'll put it there. Because when we were a tiny little search engine, no one wanted to use it. We linked out to bigger competitors, and that didn't seem to hurt us becoming the big thing you worry about. So yeah, whatever.
Well, you know, the irony, of course, is that Leo found voila by Googling it, which really wasn't that hard, let's be honest.
Voila, that FR. This does not seem to be a news story, but maybe I'm missing something. According to the unofficial Google operating system blog, you can now export your Google web history, your saved search history. Couldn't you do that all along with Takeout?
I thought so, but apparently not. It wasn't one of those things.
Okay. So it's an expanse of, Google Takeout is awesome. And it seems to me that it's not such a big deal that you can get this, because for a long time, if you go to your Google dashboard, google.com/dashboard, you've seen all the things Google keeps track of, and you can download it all. Although it's one big XML file, I don't know what the hell you do with it.
Well, it deals with it's probably a proactive thing where Google can anticipate someone saying, "Oh, I can't get my Google search history out. You're being anti-competitive."
Right.
And it really is sort of an oversight. So yeah, people want to take it out.
Now you can get that too.
Yeah,
now you can get that.
My advice for what you should do with it is delete it. Get rid of the evidence, for crying out loud.
Let me see if I do google.com/dashboard. If I so these are all the things that Google knows about you, including location history and stuff. So is it search history? Is that what I'm?
It's easier just to search for Google Web History on Google.
Okay.
You could never find where the dang thing is. There you found it.
Yeah,
now.
search history. You can, by the way, disable this. You can remove search history items, and if you wish, you can use Google Takeout and download it all.
I did this, by the way, like 2 days ago, and I'm still waiting for it to actually generate this archive I'm supposed to get. So
yeah, well, that's another problem. I keep asking Twitter for an archive of my tweets, and they've never done it. Never, not once. So, mobilegeddon we did. Is there an update to Chrome OS? Somebody was saying that Chrome OS was updated. I guess it's updated all the time. What's the news there? Certification program for cardboard clones. Now that's a story from the future. In the year 2015, cardboard clones will be certified by a company called Google.
oh my God, you're doing that voice is great.
If you'd written that story, people would have said, what the hell? A company named Google has announced a certification program for cardboard clones. Here we see the young Maureen O'Hara trying her cardboard clone. What are the cardboard clones? A lot of companies make these, right? Dodo Case made one almost right away. LG is making one.
I have to say, by the way, and I was at, I went up to F8 and I was using the, because Oculus is coming, right?
Right.
So they had the little Oculus thing, and they had where you could try on the Galaxy VR gear, whatever
and
it is.
you pop in a Note 4. And
yeah, but you had to have like a Note 4, and it was like, it only worked with like the Note 4, and then you had to pay all this expensive thing to put it on the Note 4, and then the Note 4 got too hot.
It was essentially cardboard.
It was cool, but yeah, it was like an expensive thing to put on an expensive phone. So,
ooh, look, here's
cardboard,
a hat. Here's a hat mount.
Oh my God.
For your cardboard.
That's awesome.
Now that is awesome.
That's the future. That is the future.
In the future, your hat will have a virtual reality helmet built in. Wow.
Feeling lost? Put on your baseball hat, and you will see the world in a whole other way.
A map will leap to view. Wow. So this is it. This is the new logo. Works with Google Cardboard. That is the most down market.
Baseball coming at them now. Oh, and it's going back.
It's so down market. Yes, works with Google Cardboard. Next, we'll be working with Google Pasteboard. Soon, Corkboard. Don't root your Galaxy S6 Edge, Danny Sullivan. We knew this, but Knox will stop working, as well as Samsung Wallet. OnePlus no longer needs an invite. It's gone invite free. Just in the nick of time for nobody to care.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Nice timing, OnePlus One.
Strung us along for a long time. You got to give them credit for
Now
that.
nobody wants it.
And by the way, if you're going to tell me that I can finally get your phone, but the next one is going to be
Any
invite
minute.
only,
Yeah.
then I don't want your phone.
Right.
I want the next phone. So screw you double.
Yeah. They've really got to work on their marketing message.
They have never done anything well
It's
in
the
terms of
Osborne,
marketing, ever.
Osborne 2 problem.
Yep, they Osborne themselves. This is an interesting story in Wired. I don't know how much this is. Kyle Wiens is writing this, who is, by the way, if it's the same Kyle Wiens,
It
and
is,
I
it
think
is.
it is,
It
the
is.
guy in charge of iFixit, founder of iFixit.
Yeah.
He has pointed out that John Deere and General Motors are planning to change the agreement they have with owners. They have submitted comments to the Copyright Office saying that because computer code is so heavily written throughout your entire tractor that they wish to be able to say that you, when you buy a John Deere tractor, do not buy the tractor, but an implied license for the life of the vehicle to operate the vehicle.
He discovered this when a friend of his, he was checking out these are incredibly high-tech tractors. They drive themselves practically. They're tied into GPS. And his friend, and because he's a very technical person, asked him to help him tinker with it. And he discovered that they don't let you. And when you contact,
and this is not unusual. The diagnostic computers are sealed up. They're
exactly.
You have to buy very expensive equipment.
But it turns out that there are laws for cars around repairability and stuff like that don't apply to tractors. So what happens is they subsidize, this is kind of an Amazon-style business model, they sell the tractors at essentially below cost, knowing that they're going to make a bundle on the servicing because they don't let the farmers do the servicing themselves. And so it's a racket, essentially.
Wow.
This is a really interesting feature that he wrote.
This is just an example of the DMCA gone wild.
Yeah.
Crazy. Good article. You got to read it. Kyle Wiens writing in Wired magazines online at wired.com.
I mean, that's crazy. That would be like saying you bought Star Wars on digital and you don't own it, even though you thought you were buying it on digital. Oops, wait, you don't actually own it.
Yeah,
sorry. Well, I mean, it'd be like buying a book on
a Kindle,
Amazon,
maybe,
Kindle, and thinking I own the book. But you're telling me I only have a license for the book?
No, I only have a license for the book.
What's especially frustrating is that these tractors cost $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. They are just amazingly expensive.
But they're still selling them for less than cost.
Well, they're selling. The point is that they're able to reduce the cost of the tractor itself because it's like if you buy a car, they're making more on the financing plan.
Almost as if you bought an inkjet printer and you had to use the ink from the inkjet printer from the company.
Yeah, it'd be almost like that. Wouldn't that be awful?
Like that.
That'd be terrible.
Like if you bought a coffee maker and you could only use pods from the coffee company that made the coffee.
But look at how cheap printers are and how expensive ink is. It's the same model. But he's leading this whole cause. And you can do something. If you want to get involved, go check out this article, and he'll lead you to a site where there's petitions and so on, because he considers himself a right to repair activist.
Kyle. I love Kyle.
Yeah.
And he's fighting God's fight there on that one. That's good for you, Kyle Wiens. Read the article and then write your Congress critter, I guess. So what's going on with the Android Wear? Because as Apple Watch comes out day after tomorrow, the first Apple Watches will start arriving at people's homes. And of course, one of the things Apple Watch has is Wi-Fi, which is cool because it means you can leave your phone anywhere in the Wi-Fi network and the watch will continue to work. According to Mike Elgan on Tech News Today.
It's a great source.
I heard you talking about this. Their next version of Android Wear will support not only Wi-Fi, but the internet.
Well, the thing that's cool is that if your phone is at home and on your home Wi-Fi network, you can be at work in the future because this isn't backward compatible with older Android Wear watches.
You can't use it with existing?
This will be for upcoming Android Wear watches. But you can be on your work Wi-Fi network, and your watch will talk to your phone. It will go.
It uses the public internet to communicate with your phone, not just your Wi-Fi network.
And that's different from the Apple Watch, which you can do that.
You have to be on the same
network. Exactly. So that is a really cool improvement. They also added a new gesture, a sort of wrist flicking gesture to move from one card to another, and a couple of other options.
And you can now draw.
Yeah.
They have handwriting recognition for emojis.
Yeah. But the big thing is the Wi-Fi, because this is something, you know, you go to the gym and you don't want to be carrying your phone around. You can leave it in the locker and still use it as if the phone is on your person.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now we had heard originally that maybe Wi-Fi that Wi-Fi was a capability of the existing Android Wear watches, but that's not the case.
I think it is on one or two of them, but most of them do not have that.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of them do. Moto 360, it was guessed that it wouldn't, and it in fact does. The LG G Watch does not, but the G Watch R.
The new one does.
So if I have a Moto 360. I could get a software update that would enable this Wi-Fi.
You have 360, you will get a software update that will enable Wi-Fi.
Is that 5.1?
Motorola has said that about Moto 360.
5.2, do we know when this update?
I don't know. I mean, that's the next update, which is supposed to come sometime in the next couple of weeks.
What? Crazy.
Yeah.
They're fighting it out over my wrist.
You're going to have one watch on each wrist.
I'm going to have 2 phones, 2 watches.
Yep.
Yeah. You have 2 arms.
No, you won't need 2 phones. Leave your phone at home. Carry the iPhone.
You don't need any
wear
phones.
both watches.
That's the neat thing about that, yeah. All right. It's good. As always, competition is very good for end users. So that's really great news. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, your tip, your tool, your number. We will wrap this up with the back of the book. Mike Elgan is here, our news director. He is, of course, the host of TNT Tech News Tonight every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1700 UTC. Got to watch that. Jeff Jarvis from BuzzMachine.com, that mobile unready site. He is also the author of Public Parts, What Will Google Do, Gutenberg the Geek, and his latest Geeks Bearing Gifts. Always great to have Jeff, our Professor Jarvis. And Danny Sullivan from Search Engine Land, who's probably been watching this search engine scene for longer than anybody else. Search Engine Land has always been the place to go to get the latest on what's going on with Google. They also have Marketing Land. Is it Marketing Land or Marketing Engine Land?
Marketing Land.
There's no engine in marketing.
You can merge them all together if you want. My son yesterday said something like, my friend was like, "Don't you work for Search Engine Marketing Land?" I'm like.
Also, obviously, an avid snowboarder.
Yes, that's my Bing snowboard, actually.
Oh, my God. Look at that. Yeah. A Bing snowboard.
Sometimes people are like, "You've got all that Google stuff. You're so Google." I'm like, "No, it's just you can't see. It says Bing.
It's so big you can't see the Bing."
Yeah.
He uses that 20% of the time.
He's got a board that says Bing.
Yeah.
Our show today brought to you by Shutterstock. You know, it's so funny. I watch House of Cards at the end. Images courtesy Shutterstock.
Really?
Movies, more and more. I'm seeing images courtesy. So what I realized, what are they doing? Shutterstock offers, of course, it's the place to get more than 52 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, but they also have millions of video clips. And I realized if you're doing House of Cards and you need an aerial shot of Washington, D.C., you're not going to hire a helicopter. You're going to go to Shutterstock.com. 4K and HD video, very affordable. You pay once, use it, royalty-free forever. Some of the best-looking photos and videos, each is reviewed individually for content and quality. They get more than 385,000 new images every week, so there's always stuff new. Look at that. I think that's right from
that's House of Cards.
That's House of Cards right there. And the beauty part of this is you can get a free account right now if you go to Shutterstock.com. Use their Lightbox to store images and photos and drawings and videos so that you can access them anytime. Use them as kind of like an idea book. Share them with other team members. They've got a great app for both Android and iPad now. Webby Award-winning app that's just gorgeous. But most importantly, when you have this many images, this many different clips, more all the time, the best search ever. Google quality search, better than Google quality, because you can search for a topic, but then drill down by palette.
It's also better than Google search, Google image search, because when you arrive at the photo, you can use it.
You can use it. Subject. You could say, I want 2 people in this one. You can say, I don't want any people in this one. You say, 1 man, 1 woman. You can specify emotions. It is incredible. I want you to play with it. Just go set up your free Shutterstock account, Shutterstock.com. No credit card necessary. If you do decide to buy images, we've got a deal for you on image subscription packages. Use the offer code TWIG415, TWIG415, and you'll get 20% off your new image subscription package. That's a great deal. The image subscription packages are for publications and others who use a lot of images. We have the basic one, which is, I think, 25 images a day, and we use it all the time. Shutterstock.com. 20% off image subscription packages on new accounts with the code TWIG415. We thank you so much, Shutterstock, for your support and for providing great images for our use all the time. If you have a blog, you got to have an image on every post, I think. Great for Google Plusers too, right?
Yeah, and if you here's something that a lot of people don't know about Shutterstock. If you have a blog where you write about technology, the brands are in there too. You can search for Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and you get just hundreds of images that are relating to actual brands. And this isn't the, these aren't iconography taken from the company. These are, conceptual illustrations built by illustrators that you can use.
I wanted to share a tool this week called Phostroid that I found. I think it was on Hacker News I found it. It looks just like the Play Store, but all of these are open source Android apps. So many of them are, like Barcode Scanner is on, and K9 Mail and VLC. These are on the Play Store. But if you are interested in using open source, free and open source software, if you're interested in what kinds of free and open source software there is out there, this is a really great compendium of programs. And, of course, all you have to do is check the sideload box in your settings, and you can download these directly from phostroid.com. And in particular, when it comes to security, I like to use open source because then you can verify that there's no NSA backdoor, no CIA backdoor, and so forth. So if you're looking for encryption tools or that kind of thing, this is a great place to go. Phostroid. The other thing I wanted to show, which just came out today, Microsoft is true to its promise that they're going to support users wherever they are, has released Microsoft Outlook for Android. And this is the Accompli program that they bought. They have released this already on iOS. It's now out for Android. And it's actually really sweet. And I don't mean that sweet like it's really, cute. I mean, it's actually a very nice program. Supports OneDrive, Dropbox box, iCloud, IMAP. You can, of course, set up your Gmail account in it. Let me get back to there. Set up your Gmail account in it. But you can also use Exchange or Outlook.com. You can even use Yahoo Mail. Is there anybody still using Yahoo Mail? I won't log in right now, but if you go and look at it in the Play Store, it's free. You'll see it's that Accompli interface where you can swipe.
Yeah.
If you like Inbox, you might like it a lot. And it also has a built-in calendar. If you want to go a little bit past what the Google apps will do on Android, might be worth checking out. And I think it's great that Microsoft is releasing all this stuff for tablets, even before they release it for their own product, Windows product. Outlook is now available. I'll sign in and show you a little later on for Android, tablet or phone. Jeff, do you have a number of the week for us?
I do. I apologize for not. I didn't want to break in more with my lag here, but I got one number, which is Ruth Porat, the new CFO of Google. It has a $70 million pay package.
Oh, that's up there with Angela Ahrendts.
Where did they get Porat?
Oh shoot! She came from Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
CFO.
Wow. That's a lot of money. Don't tell Lisa that a CFO can get that kind of money, will you?
That's 10 times more than CEO Tim Cook makes, I think. Something.
Is it really?
Yeah. He's ranked as the highest bang for the buck in the industry.
They get a good deal. Apple gets a good deal with Tim Cook, believe it or not.
Yep.
And Angela Ahrendts, their director of retail, costs more.
Like $75 million or something like that.
Yeah. Something. She's in there with Porat numbers. Those are Porat numbers, not Borat. That's another person, the new CFO at Google. Mike, you have a thing or a tip or a tool?
I do. Speaking of Facebook, were we speaking of Facebook? I don't think we were. Well, we are now.
We weren't, but we will.
Facebook today released something called Hello. Speaking of Hello and Lionel Richie.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
This is built by the Messenger team, and basically it's caller ID. Even if you don't know the number of the person who's calling you, but if they have ever interacted with you on Facebook, Facebook knows who they are and will pop up information about that person.
Glad to tell you everything they know.
Exactly.
Oh,
you can also search for people and businesses, local businesses, and call with a single tap. This is currently in beta. It's available for Android only. And it sounds like it might be a nice, as long as it's not too obtrusive, it might be a nice addition to the existing caller ID because, of course, if you're a heavy Facebook user, and Leo, I know you love the Facebook.
I love it, a Facebook.
And this is a good way for you to see who's calling you. You can block people that you don't want calling you and so on. So it sounds like they may be onto something. They're trying to sort of you know, they've had several abortive attempts to be a phone interface with Facebook Home, with a Facebook phone and all that stuff. But this is a way that, you know, where they're offering a tool that does something kind of minimalist and leverages your so-called social graph from Facebook for an interesting caller ID function. I like the fact that you don't, it covers people who are not in your contacts database, who you may not know their number, but it still functions as if you do. So Facebook, hello.
Hello.
Ship today. Hello.
I'm going to download it. It's only would add, I presume, caller ID for people you follow or...
No, it's anybody who has
in their database?
interacted with you on Facebook. So if they've commented on one of your posts, they're added to the list somehow. At least that's how they've described it. And you can call with one tap, as I said, and yeah. So it's, you know, they're sort of trying to get people to use. You know, I think eventually they want, of course, everybody to use Facebook as their contacts database.
Right.
And so this is a way to start populating.
There's something to be said for that. I mean, it's, you know, people tend to keep their information up to date in Facebook.
Yeah, people, I think, are reluctant to add their phone numbers to Facebook sometimes. But
well, but if you're using Tinder,
sure,
you know, not that I am, but if you were.
Yeah.
Danny Sullivan, you got any cool objects of interest?
I've got a number for you if you want.
A number? 404? Go ahead.
Yeah, not 404. Today, the Internet Advertising Bureau came out with their year-end stats on how much spend has been happening in different kinds of online digital ads, and search was again at the top with 50% of all money that is spent that they track in the United States. So, you know, it's anything but dead, although the growth is not as strong as when you look at what's been going on with social, because social is a smaller chunk, and so there's a lot more spending starting to go into it. Or if you just take out mobile from all of this stuff as well. So that's sort of my number, kind of simple. But after search, by the way, I'm looking here at the stories on Search Engine Land. Search makes up all of 50% of online ad spend. Display ads make up 40% of it. If you can then break down and look at desktop search is actually 38% of that share. Desktop display is 27%. One thing that surprised me was video spending is only 7% of online ad spend.
Wow.
You got to get that up.
Yeah, it's, you know, it might be a bit higher because there might be some mobile ad spend that's in there because they don't break out the mobile part of it. But I was surprised it seemed to be as low as it was there. So
that would include pre-rolls in video ads, and
it should do. It should do. If it's a video spend.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Danny, it's always great to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
You'll find his great work at searchengineland.com, at Danny Sullivan on the Twitter. Also, marketing engine.
Marketing Land.
Disney.
I better register Marketing Engine Land right away.
You better get it right away. Marketingland.com. Thank you, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Jeff Jarvis, we're going to let you go to sleep. Poor guy. It's probably midnight in jolly old England.
No, it's in London. It's not that bad.
All right.
He's going to hit the pubs. What are you talking about?
The pubs. Party time. Always great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
We appreciate it. Jeff's every week. Of course, he's professor of journalism, City University of New York. Follow him at buzzmachine.com. Mike Elgan, our news director. Great to have you.
Glad to be here. It's all the way. It's across the room from the news desk.
A long commute.
Yeah, it was tough.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we thank you for being here. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC, live.twit.tv if you want to watch along with us. Join the chat room at irc.twit.tv. But if you can't, we make on-demand audio and video of every show available after the fact at twit.tv/twig. And if you subscribe, you can go to iTunes or your podcast client, Dogcatcher or Instacast, whatever it is you use, and subscribe. You'll make sure you don't miss a week because we don't want you to miss a week. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.